This is Command Post, a series of discussions about military matters from Time and the Center for a New American Security.
Jim, it seems that the key challenge in cyber war is tracking down the perpetrator, knowing who did it, because everybody is connected to the internet. And if you can't tell who did it, how do you deter that entity or that person?
You know, I think the attribution problem is just overstated. And so you want to break it into different scenarios. And in some scenarios, a one-off event may be cyber terror, although I don't believe in it. A one-off event, hard to track them down. But when it's a pattern of events like state-sponsored espionage, attribution isn't that hard, right? If it's in a conflict, if it's in a war, actual shooting war, attribution won't be that hard. So, you know, attribution is also a problem that sometimes can be hard to understand for people, because there's the things that the private sector does and they have their limitations, but you can reinforce those as a government with active intelligence. So if I break into your computer networks and spy on you and see that you're planning a cyber attack, I don't have an attribution problem. So I think it's overstated. I don't worry about it that much, except in the one-offs.
Kristin, do you get the sense that cyber war really won't be traveling solo? As Jim suggests, you know, if you're in a shooting war, it's going to be sort of a partner. So the notion of a cyber attack out of the blue is somewhat squishy and dubious?
Well, I think it gets to what we mean by a cyber attack. A cyber attack that has serious strategic consequences for the United States is probably unlikely to come out of the blue. But there really is a chance of a lot of low-level attacks coming from a lot of different sources. Attribution is a problem in those circumstances, but I agree with Jim, it's overstated. And the reason is not only do we have cyber means to attribute cyber attacks, but we also have a whole range of other means to attribute. We have law enforcement, traditional intelligence. Cyberspace, again, is not this sort of magical separate universe that isn't tied to people or machines that exist in the real world. And because of that, we have a lot of different ways to find out who's behind cyber attacks. And I think the recent arrests of the anonymous members in Europe is a good example of this.
Mm-hmm. So they can be tracked down?
They can. It's not easy, it can be expensive, it can be time consuming, but if the stakes are high enough, it's certainly not impossible.